Alright guys, Hecz here again today, and a rumour was going around last night that I thought we better discuss today because there hasn't been too much official confirmation around it, but pretty much a load of people have been talking about this. It hasn't really been talked about too much on Twitter, but especially in the Krone's Intel Call of Duty Discord, a lot of discussion around this team and a few of you guys commenting this roster on my video yesterday, so I thought it was worth discussing. By the time this video goes live, it may have been talked about in more detail, or we may have some more expansion on this rumour on Twitter, but you know, for now we're just going to run with it. So firstly, I wanted to run through a few announcements that we've had, then we'll get onto this rumour with the latter half of the video surrounding Chicago, surrounding the Los Angeles OpTic Immortal spot, and potentially Hex's involvement with the Chicago team and exactly what will happen to the other guys, Crimsix especially now being linked with Dallas. Honestly, it's all over the place, and I hope you guys are enjoying it because yes, just to be clear, all these things are rumours. There's things that I've talked about in the past over the last few days that were probably rumours and may well have been accurate at the time, and things have since changed. Things move on, things progress, and unfortunately not everything I say is going to be accurate, but personally I think it's worth discussing it. I think it's interesting. It's interesting to see the progression through the rumours, and then we get a real proper announcement hopefully within the next couple of weeks, and then we can see like where things all shaped up. So hope you guys are enjoying the content regardless. Let's hop right into it here. So these are all the teams that are confirmed right now. Atlanta, they have a rumoured roster of Priester, Simp, Abizi, Celium, and Major Maniac, if you guys weren't aware of that. Dallas, New York, Paris, Toronto, Los Angeles, Minnesota, Florida. Los Angeles, again, a different one. Seattle, Chicago, and London. So London does another couple of confirmations yesterday, announcing an assistant coach and their strategic coach. So Dominate is going to be their assistant coach. He was a coach for Red Reserve, I think, for a while. And Shane, of course, straight off that Reciprocity team. So Shane does this tweet: beyond pleased to be representing Queen and Country. Let's try and bring it home in 2020. Dylan CoD says the following, of course, linked with this London team. He says, well, contract signed, potentially, eyes emoji, clinking the glasses, so potentially that's something to read into there. Bum Job tweeted at me yesterday saying the following: Aqua deleted this, Splyce Aqua dollar bills y'all. So look, if you guys have any interesting things, feel free to hit my DMs on Twitter. They're open, so you know, if you want to give me any info or just at them at me like this very excellent subscriber individual does here. So yeah, maybe that's something to look into. Maybe Aqua's signed somewhere. Apparently this has since been deleted. But yeah, if you guys want to let me know anything, feel free to at me on Twitter or hit the DMs. The links will be down below. This is what Crimsix tweeted out yesterday. Pretty interesting picture of him just throwing one up. So well, throwing a different one up to what you'd to what Scraps' one up would be. Interesting, and this is a nice little segue into the rumours here. Pretty interesting really, because Crimsix hasn't been a villain in a long time. I'm sure a lot of you guys have come into Call of Duty over the last few years when Crimsix hasn't really been a villain. He's been on OpTic Gaming, he's been like one of the figureheads of the community. Whereas back in the day, Crimsix was right up there with Hecz as one of the biggest villains in the scene. It would be really cool, to be honest, to see that that kind of Crimbot come back, because it doesn't really fit his personality being the hero all the time, to be honest. So here we go. This is the rumour that Intel Call of Duty comes around with yesterday. This doesn't include the Chicago rumour, which I believe he'll probably follow up on today, but let's go through what we have from him yesterday. So Seattle, something happened to this roster, very interesting. This was the roster that I was planning to actually talk about today being rumoured. Octane, Enable, Arcetes, Slacked, and Envoy. Now, it turns out that Arcetes and Envoy are now linked to this Chicago team. So that may be what's happening here. Slacked, I think, has been retweeting some LG stuff. Of course, Octane and Slacked have been teammates on Luminosity in the past for a long time, won championships together, and Enable, of course, won championships with Octane this season on 100 Thieves. But Arcetes and Envoy may well have gone elsewhere from that Seattle Luminosity gaming kind of team. Dallas, Crim and Claystra being linked here. This is what I've heard as well. Crim, Clay, Illy, and Shotzi supposedly are potentially in the works. Depends exactly what happens, because Shotzi is still contracted to Splyce, which is, of course, related to Toronto. So it depends what happens there, because I haven't seen too much interest in players wanting to play for Toronto, because you'd probably want to play for more of the American cities. So, you know, it depends exactly what happens with Shotzi. Hastro did, of course, say in a video yesterday that no one is locked in yet, implying that even Hook potentially isn't there, even though he's been there for a long time. I would imagine Hook still stays on the team. But Crimsix is definitely being linked now to this squad, which would be pretty damn exciting, because we've seen a lot of things go back and forth around this Dallas team. Minnesota, Silly and Assault, of course, world champions in World War II, didn't have as much success this season on that Envy squad, but supposedly they might have been linked because I think Silly has said that he's signed somewhere and Assault has said something similar possibly. And then we have this, the Los Angeles OpTic team. So no update on Formal, Slasher, still where they're signed to or anyone else. Still pretty sure Jacob is fake news. Krim said at the end of his OpTic tweet, turns out this is all for nothing, but we may have some more updates on this LA OpTic team after this post went live, which we can talk about in a little bit. Toronto, Gunless even being linked here, not sure what Toronto is doing. Some things around London as well, but nothing particularly set in stone. Then Atlanta, still the same, Simpa, Maniac, Celium and Priester. Florida, same list, don't really know what's going on. Mork, Skies, Apathy, Frosty, John, Godorex, Postini potentially being linked. Godorex, I believe, did do a tweet saying that he's been signed somewhere. And New York, the same list again as he mentioned the other day. And then London, Scraps and Dylan, supposedly. Wiskin, of course, said he's not playing with Scraps, but it could have been bait because we did go through that tweet yesterday where Wiskin replied to someone who replied to my tweet saying that, he's not going to be teaming with Scraps, very unlikely for this season. And Wiskin, honestly, is a pretty down-to-earth guy, so I kind of took what he said as gospel, but you never know, maybe everyone's playing the bait game. And Kroenke finishes off his tweet with the following: what the public knows what's really going on, which is certainly true, but it doesn't hurt to speculate. So Intel CoD, Kroenke follows up with the following: by the way, I should have stated more franchises being added is still a rumor. It could still stay at 12. And then he follows up with this: delete this poor excuse of an update. Tomorrow's update bring 9 gallons of lube and 14 tissues. Chicago tick. So supposedly, I'm guessing, he got some intel just after this post went live about what was happening with Chicago. Let's get into that now. So just to go through this, I will link some of these Reddit threads down below if you want to go through them. This is mostly on the OpTic Gaming subreddit, going through their Rostermania thread. So Throwaway OG, who is a burner account on OpTic Gaming that apparently seems to have some rumors behind the scene, says 3 days ago that Cap already has a team, so implying that he wasn't going to be going to that rumored Los Angeles team with Scump, Formal, TJ, Dashi, and Cap was the rumor based on what Crimsic said, but apparently that's not going to happen, especially moving onwards to this. So this is what came out yesterday. None of the T2P, so Scump and Formal, if you guys aren't aware, are with us boys. Are they with Dashi and TJ? Nope, says Throwaway OG. So very interesting. This guy, I don't know if it's full credibility, but from what I'm hearing, a lot of the things this guy said may be true, and it's been rumoured all over the place. So it's worth discussing, even if it is a rumour. Everyone has been talking about this team, or, okay, not everyone, I'm sure a lot of you guys aren't aware, but, a lot of people have been talking about this team, which kind of makes me think, well, even if it's not true, it's at least worth discussing. So I think we'll go through it. So none of the T2P apparently nowadays are going to be playing with TJ and Dashi. Apparently those duos are now separated. Very interesting stuff. And are they together though? Scump and Formal, Throwaway G implying. Yes, indeed. So let's move on to the actual rumour. Here we go. So the Throwaway OG1 guy has dropped intel in the CoD Intel Discord, which I will link down below if you guys want to check it out and join it and see if any more intel comes around. The guys in there are always speculating about what's going on. Pretty fun times. This is what he suggested. OpTic, so this is the Los Angeles OpTic team. Dashi, TJ, Slasher, and maybe even Kenny. So that's a potential rumour. I think a comment on yesterday's video from an individual even expanded on that a little bit further. Not sure if that's just speculation or not, but we'll go into that in a second. So NRG, who own the Chicago spot, rumoured to be the following: Scump, Formal, Envoy, Arcetes, and Gunless. This is crazy interesting stuff because we know that Arcetes and Gunless have teamed in the past back in the United team. Interestingly, though, about this roster is that Formal and Gunless teamed, of course, in the Black Ops 4 season, and from what I heard, Formal described his decision to team with Gunless as like one of the worst decisions he has ever made in terms of just ruining their team chemistry, even though they did win a championship at Fort Worth, I believe. So regardless, that's happened. Scump's back with Formal. Who knows whether this is going to be the case? On paper, this team is filthy, especially how good Gunless was in the World War II season. We'll just have to see how it goes. An Envoy being in there is a really interesting choice as well. But this is the rumour right now. Be interested to hear your thoughts down below. Scump, Formal, Envoy, Arcetes, and Gunless. And then the OpTic team is going to be coming like kind of 100 Thieves OpTic kind of duo with Dashi and TJ, with Slasher and potentially even Kenny coming in here. Karma is on one of Atlanta, Seattle, or NRG, and Los Angeles, Atlanta, and NRG are full teams, so my guess would be Seattle, supposedly. Octane, Slasher, and Formula are on separate teams. Octane most likely back on Seattle with Slacked and maybe Enable, so if this Karma thing is true, maybe he's going there. Of course, all speculation, guys. It could all change for sure. If OpTic gets the 5th they want, some people think they'll be better than NRG. I think Kroenke was saying in his Discord, though, having received a lot of this info privately and hasn't put it out on his Twitter account yet, at least when I'm recording. He may have done by the time this video is going live, but he says I think he prefers the Chicago team over what the rumoured OpTic team is, but we'll just have to see what happens to the rumours as they come out. So this was a comment on my video yesterday from Nameless, saying that Dallas is going to be, so this is Envy, Crimsix, Claystar, Hook, Illy, and Shotzi. I've heard some of these names revolving around it. Chicago, the same rumour we just talked about, I believe originating from this throwaway OpTic Gaming account. Who knows exactly what happens there. And yeah, so Dashi, TJ, Kenny, Slasher, I'm pretty sure this is, he's just basing this off what we just looked through. But when I got this comment and I was looking through them, I was like, okay, where are people pulling all this info from? So I had to do a bit of research this morning. So very interesting stuff. I'd be interested to hear your guys' thoughts on this down below, of course. Really an interesting team. Let's just have a closer look through it, just in case it is true. So Scump and Envoy going to be your SMGs. They're pretty damn AR heavy. Formula and RCTs both with ARs, but then again, to be honest, from you guys that have played the beta, it really does seem like the game is designed for ARs. The MP5 is filthy, but apart from that, it seems like it's going to be an AR-centric game, to be honest. The ARs are very, very strong, and it's more of a World War II style game where you're going to need at least 2 SMGs to fly around the map and make space for your ARs, but at the end of the day, it's your ARs that are going to be putting up the big figures, just like what happened in World War II. And Gunless is a very versatile player anyway. I feel like long term, this team may have issues with chemistry. We don't really know how good Envoy is at bringing players together and being a good teammate, right? But we'll have to see, I guess, if this team does form. So really, really interesting. And just to finish off with, we got this yesterday from Will L. I'm not exactly sure who this individual is, but I know that he deals with CSGO a lot. And this is what he says on the OpTic Reddit. Couldn't get this confirmed by anyone, so I'm not going to do a report on it. But one source has said Hecz is in discussions to join NRG Chicago franchise and the roster would go there. The same source said he was looking for something he didn't have to put up cash for and that would fit the bill. Again, this is from a single source, so take it with a grain of salt. It'd be strange if he tweeted "this ain't us" and stayed with Immortals, but we'll have to see. So that is another rumour, that Hecz may indeed be involved with this team. Of course, him and Scump go back so far, and Scump is really the face of, well, OpTic Gaming, to be honest. So if Scump goes somewhere, it kind of does make sense that Hecz would also go to the same place, especially, and maybe the other way around, right? Hecz gets involved with NRG, gets involved with Chicago, and he's like, Seth, we can put together a sick team here. Formal can come along as well. Pick who the rest of you guys want, and then we can field a God Squad. So that's the rumours for today. Tomorrow, I'm sure we'll get more because things are all over the place right now. Things are moving so fast behind the scenes. It's difficult to keep up with it, but it's interesting nonetheless. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like if you did, subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching as always, and cheers for the comments on the haircut yesterday. It's pretty decent. I'll see you next time.